Good morning, everyone. If you're on Eastern Standard Time, welcome. I'm really happy to be here, taking some time to connect with the general public, with colleagues, professionals, anyone who might be interested in our project. My name's Melinda McClymans. I'm the Assistant Director of the Middle East Studies Center at Ohio State University. And I'm here to talk to you about Soil to Souq, which is our foodways project, Middle Eastern foodways project. Sometimes I forget to say Middle Eastern foodways project simply because as the assistant director of the Middle East Studies Center, almost everything I do is Middle East related. So it can slip my mind because I forget, sometimes I forget who my audience is. And what we're really doing is taking learning and expertise on the Middle East and connecting it to food, going a little bit deeper than what is visible, what is readily apparent. Food is a great way to get introduced to cultures. Food, festivals, art, creativity, literature, all of the products of culture are great entry point into culture, but what our job is to go deeper into the context, into the values of the culture and what's driving the patterns of activity and the practices. So in this case, around food. And so the term for that is foodways, not food waste. Sometimes people mishear me or I misspeak. It sounds like I'm saying food waste because that's another component of food systems that's really important. And a lot of times these days, it's my great privilege to be talking to people who are professionals working in our local food systems here in Columbus, Ohio, where Ohio State University's main campus is located, although we have campuses all over the state of Ohio. Many of them are ag campuses. And my ag extension colleagues, shout out to all of them. They're awesome and they do such important work for not only helping people who are directly working on food like farmers, but people who just want to, garden, people who want to grow their own food, people who want to have chickens in their, keep chickens. There's so many resources they offer. And one of the great programs in Ohio is the Farm to School program. So shout out to my colleagues in Extension in that program, especially Lavanya Watkins. So what is Soil to Souq? Soil to Souq is just what I was talking about. So the distance between the actual plant when it's, harvested to the table is not empty. It's full of not only transport of the food, but then what do people do with food, with plants, especially to maximize their flavor, maximize their nutritional value, make them last longer through traditional preservation techniques. The social aspect, markets, business, developing strong businesses and business partnerships. And I am especially focused in Columbus on our local food businesses and bringing together food business owners around flavor profiles of the Middle East. Right now, Mediterranean and Middle Eastern food is expanding. The market's expanding. There's more and more demand for it. It's not as much of a niche as it used to be. It's becoming more in demand. So that is a huge benefit for this project. And just to give you background on more about why we're doing it. And I should actually pull up my slides, I just realized too. So let's do that. So here are my slides. In October of 2022, we hosted a food sovereignty workshop. We talked about Yemeni food systems and Dr. Daniel Barisco, who's done years of fieldwork in Yemen, who's an anthropologist, shared amazing knowledge about food systems in Yemen. We looked at food systems around the world and what can be, what kind of inspiration they provide for building local food systems, what sort of technologies, but older technologies exist that we can learn from. And one of the highlights of the workshop, what really got us focused on food sovereignty, but not only food sovereignty, but the idea of research partnership as a critical, not an optional, but a critical part of research, and how we connect what we do in universities with the real world and making a positive change with mutual respect with communities, so that the knowledge we're generating is relevant to them, and that we're learning from them. We're not just studying them. A lot of, pivots in terms of what, typical patterns you might find in research. So it was really, really interesting. And the keynote of Brandy E. Phipps, Associate Professor of the Department of Agriculture and Life Sciences at Central State University and Principal Investigator of the Phipps Sustainable Nutrition Sciences Lab, kicked us off talking about her partnership work, working with the Menominee Tribal College in Wisconsin, and we learned fascinating things about agriculture from them. It's a really interesting location. Check it out. Like, in terms of world history, it's fascinating. The kind of agriculture that's been developed there, and the interesting projects that they're now doing these days to the idea of food sovereignty is, local. So strengthening local food systems, which is what we all need to do, is, become more resilient and less dependent on global supply chains, because they can be disrupted. And so it's important to diversify our food sources and connect with local food sources and local people. So people are a critical part of food, all the things we bring to the table. So Soil to Souq is really all about that. It's about collaboration around Middle Eastern foodways, and we bring together people from different academic disciplines: historians, anthropologists, nutrition scientists, agriculture professors, all kinds, all kinds are involved. In fact, at that original workshop in October of 2022, 27 different units were represented. People from 27 different departments at Ohio State University came to the workshop, which shows you that people really resonate with the topic of food security, with the idea of how can we be more relevant and impactful in our research. 5 government offices were represented, and 6 nonprofit organizations were represented from our local community. So it was a mandate of sorts to keep going with this work and just keep exploring. It's not always easy, I'll say. Collaboration isn't always, straightforward, and it takes developing a mindset of both leadership and stepping back and allowing people to bring what they have to the table. And I'm learning a great deal through this process about myself, and really what I like to do and who I am. I am a people person, so I tend to be biased toward collaboration, and I understand and respect that not everyone wants that, and some people feel more comfortable working solo, and really there's room for all of that, because there's always different types of work to be done. The key is to provide a framework and consistency, and to kind of just keep going, and keep hosting the opportunities. Over the past year, since since March of this year. We've been going out and just going into the community and engaging at farmers markets, engaging at festivals in downtown Columbus. We've actually given about 800 seeds away at these events. I am not an expert in by any means in gardening, so my team is incredibly helpful for that, and our collaborators who are experts in that, and just engaging. I especially love engaging with the kids at the festivals. Some of the downtown festivals are family oriented, which is really delightful. The average age of a U.S. farmer is 58 years. That was one of my key takeaways when we hosted the original food sovereignty workshop in 2022. Someone just called me, and so now I'm like worried my microphone's not working or something like that. I did test it, so sorry, I just got paranoid there for a second. But like someone's calling me like we can't hear you or something like that. But where was I? So yeah, 800 seeds given away, and the young people. And in our original conversations that where we were exploring collaboration using strategic doing back in October 2022, and strategic doing is a whole community of team science based research collaborative project practitioners, community project practitioners, and it's a methodology that really brings out everyone's assets to the table and has shaped my thinking on this a great deal. So we had these conversations and explored ways forward, and that's when I learned especially from the farmers who were there, the urban farmers that came, who represented some really cool local organizations here. Southside Family Farms, shout out. That it was kind of like consensus that, we're too old. Like we're worried that we're not going to be able to pass down our farming knowledge in our farms, because they're just, most farmers, it just seems like we're all in the upper age bracket at the, the various conventions that we go to and et cetera. And I really took that to heart. My background is in education. My PhD is in education. And so, one of the things that assets that I bring is just the learning piece and connecting, curriculum focused on youth and learning activities focused on youth. And I by no means do it all, but that tends to be where I gravitate in these collaborations since October 2022. And I would be remiss to leave out another awesome urban farm. There's so many, so many great things happening in Columbus with our, efforts to, and I think I'll just show you my face again. I'm a little bit shiny. But there's a lot of great stuff going on. Vincent Walters Urban Farm is a really incredible farm in Bronzeville, which is a historically African-American neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. The Bronzeville Growers Market is a great community hub as well. And so, there's a lot going on with people just building our own space here in terms of food security, and not only food security, but the cultural relevance, the cultural piece, like the people piece, the community piece is really strong. So yeah, in addition to the festivals and markets, we had a foodways working session recently. So this is kind of like the end result, or not end result, but kind of the progression of that original food sovereignty workshop in 2022. We did a foodways workshop. Well, it was actually a working session. And again, brought together people from multiple backgrounds: food business, food security, farm to school, extension, historians. I mean, it really did bring together just people around that passion around food. And it was facilitated by Third Floor Design. So I highly recommend Third Floor Design and their facilitation. It's kind of the way I met Jack and Jane of Third Floor Design was through my Strategic Doing network, which is an international network, and it's especially at universities. I would say especially in engineering departments. Engineering is interesting because I think collaboration is almost a given in engineering, or like the ability to, like, team science is almost a necessity, because there are a lot of projects that just can't be done alone in engineering, and learning those skills are critical. And so I learned a lot from my colleagues at Ohio State's engineering college about how to write team-based assignments. Highly recommend, like, if you're interested in this, look up PIG's Face. It's an acronym, but it's how you design a proper group work assignment where people are really engaged in the collaboration piece and the teamwork. And with Third Floor Design, what we did at our workshop on September 19th is we brought out assumptions. Everyone has their own perspective, so it's a really perspective-taking opportunity when you bring people together on the table from different backgrounds. And I have never known how to fully tap into that opportunity until I met Jack and Jane. They have this brilliant approach, and it has to do with looking at assumptions as assets. I never would have thought of that, but if you think about it, the assumptions are really valuable, because if you turn them into questions, you forge a path forward of exploration where you're bringing the different perspectives together. So there's a lot more to it. So Engaged Curiosity by Jack Ricciuto is fantastic. If you're at all interested in collaboration, you should read it. But even if you're not, even if you're kind of like, yeah, well, that's not really my thing, it's just a great way to think about how assumptions and questions can help us solve any kind of problem. And it's just a great approach to life as well. So that was exciting to use that methodology. I think it's much more useful for the type of foodways work, since foodways work, it's not an engineering topic. It's a more human-based topic. It's more connected to the humanities. If you're talking about academic disciplines, history, even, storytelling, poetry, all those things get into the meaning of food. It's not just food, it's family, it's values, it connects to those humanities-oriented topics. And one of the things that I really value in the project is just, instead of an icebreaker, we ask people to tell a story of, a memory, like to get started, like about plants and growing plants or foraging plants, or how plants were used in their family for different purposes, especially food, but it can be, plants can have so many different meanings. And so we get into that aspect of foodways right away. And it also just kind of, helps people get to know each other. So it's a great icebreaker. So we did that at the food. We started with a storytelling icebreaker. And I'm going to tell you about our projects and also what I'm teaching in the next couple slides, but I want to just show you what the session looked like. Noor Obaid made that video. She was at the Foodways working session. Thank you so much, Noor. It's a beautiful video. It's so nice to be capturing our work. Shout out to Zari Mahmoudi, who's also there to facilitate and capture our work. And she's busy behind the scenes looking at our data and working towards our end goals. Like, we want to be able to really visualize the impact we've made over the past year and a half approximately, once we reach the end of the academic year next year, and just to keep recruiting people, keep inspiring people to do this work. So thank you so much for just the documentation work. And there's so much behind the scenes work with these things that is just critical, and isn't as visible. So we're working to make all that more visible. Another exciting thing is that bubbled up from this project is curriculum, learning materials, to do with foodways. And I have really been enjoying teaching through the lens of food. Just this week, I was a guest speaker, and I talked about perspectives on food and foodways in Israel, Palestine, and just hosted a great conversation with the students in the Mediterranean Food Cultures course taught at Ohio State University by Dr. Mark Anthony Arsenio. So thank you for that opportunity, Dr. Arsenio. It's so great to talk to your students. We do have related materials online if you're interested, and I'm going to be updating them and sort of improving them after the talk I gave this past week. And I taught about Egyptian foodways, kind of through the lens of religion. And it's just fascinating to me how religion can play a role in our what we see on the table, and fasting as well, and how those cycles of fasting and feasting have all these cultural practices around them. We brought in Barb Petzen, an amazing foodways scholar and historian, and she talked about the legacy of winemaking in the Middle East, and that brought in faculty from multiple departments and community members just curious about winemaking in the Middle East and how that connects. And you can find that video in the full presentation on Facebook and YouTube channels. Another outcome from this work is just insights into what's needed. So at the Foodways working session, we had people start a project to survey farmers to find out, what their needs are and how they might partner with, or how they might sell crops to for the purpose of Middle Eastern foodways. There was a food as medicine group. There's my group, and we focused on connecting different food businesses in Columbus to, kind of pull each other up and popularize Middle Eastern food even more in Columbus, kind of take advantage of this growing market and offer, sort of present what's already being done in a way that's going to help with sales. And another kind of passion of many of the people that came to the Foodways working session was youth education. We're really passionate about passing down knowledge. And we've got people working on different projects, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing at the Middle East Study Center for that. And I just want to shout out to all the people involved in supporting this project, especially my student team. I've got an awesome student team, students who are volunteering. We have interns. We also have just the Middle East Study Center team in general. We all work together, our students and staff and faculty at the center. So my team at the center is crucial for this work and doing great work. And it's just really lovely to work together. And I want to just shout out to my colleagues, Barb Petson, Brandy Phipps. It's just critical to have that academic input. Mark Anthony Arsenio, Johanna Selman is another one who over the years has brought great energy to this, and to our students at Ohio State University. So there is so much good work going on with building local food systems, the slow food movement not being least of which. And Mark Anthony Arsenio is actually a chapter leader in Columbus of the slow foods movement. So I'm connecting to that as much as possible. They have a really great database called the Arc of Taste. And it's sort of like an endangered species index, but for plants. And just, promoting a diversification of the plants we eat. So we're not so reliant on the, just the most commercially developed crops, but that we, diversify our plates and therefore diversify our economy and create more. I think the principle from like financial literacy of diversifying your portfolio fits here as well. Like in terms of making you more prosperous and wealthy with food is diversify your food sources, and you will have more nutrition, more value, and it'll be more resilient. So Arc of Taste is an awesome thing. There's so many things that already exist, and really what I'm here to do is provide opportunities to bring people together who are already doing this work. We also have a local food board. It's actually for Franklin County and Columbus, and their food action plan has provided really excellent guidance for us locally. Karima Samadi, you're doing great work. Thank you so much for being a great connector in our community and lifting up our local community gardens and just, raising awareness about the needs for growing plants locally. And I'm sure so many other things that I'm not aware of, but that I connect with whenever I possibly can. My community partners are just fantastic. I already mentioned one, the Vincent Walters Urban Farm. A key partner in this is All That. It's an after-school program for high school students. It focuses on life skills, academic skills, and workforce development. It's a transformative and impactful program, mainly serving Columbus City schools here in Columbus. And they're a great partner, and it's given us the opportunity to reach. They have a culinary track, so we're working with the culinary track on a regular basis over the next year. And we also invite all the kids in the program to join on things like cooking demonstrations. So we cooked an okra stew together down in the Bronzeville Growers Market at the Extension Center that's also there. Really wonderful experience. We had 40 people there. So thank you, Barb, for being so flexible and willing to suddenly increase the recipe. And thank you, Danella. Danella Hicks is amazing. She's the director of all that. And it's her brainchild. And she really knows what she's doing, which is fantastic. With this work, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just find the right people. Don't ask how, ask who, because there's somebody doing it and doing it much better than you, because it's their, it's their creation. They've tapped into their, unique gifts for it. So tapping into unique gifts is really key to be able to make all this come together. So I want to just also talk about some specific work that has gone into this project. Sarah Spencer, who is our intern at the Middle East Study Center and who's been volunteering for this project for over a year now. She is a wizard with marketing, branding, media online. She's created a lot of our media, including the main landing page, which I'll share with you at the end. She puts together beautiful presentations of all the curriculum basically that we're curating, but she boils it down to just the key takeaways that people want, that will hopefully lead them to be more curious and inquire more about Middle Eastern foodways. So most recently, she created our handout, which is Middle Eastern flavor profiles, and then it links to much more detailed information about recipes, what the plants are, where they originated from, the cultural significance of the plants, and all sorts of things that we'll keep building and keep developing. And shout out to all the people at the Foodways working session for your questions, because being there, it provides that clarity of what is realistic, what do people actually want. And I just can't recommend enough this approach of using assumptions, because it helps you to learn through this process that Jack and Jane do. It helps you to learn what is actually realistic and the best way to go forward if you want, especially if you're trying to build something or create change. And then there's my colleague Jody Spencer. Thank you so much for your creativity, Jody, and your passion for education and connecting with young people. It's really with Jody and Sarah downtown where we had the most engagement, giving away seeds, a lot of young kids and families coming up to us, teachers, all the people were really trying to target what a brilliant partner to work with for community outreach. So shout out to Jody Spencer. Shout out again to Barb Petson for coming all the way to Columbus. She brought us some dried okra that was actually preserved Palestinians preserved it in Israel, Palestine. It's hard to get a hold of those. It's kind of like a artifact that we have of a traditional foodway from the Middle East, and so much more. She did the winemaking workshop and the cooking demo and everything. It's just so great to have you here, Barb, and to host you. And Joy McCorston is my partner, my friend, my, in some ways my boss, because she's the director of the Middle East Study Center, but it really feels more like a partnership because, we run a pretty tight ship. And thank you, Joy, for your leadership of the center. It's made such a huge difference. And our philosophy of relationships first has made such a huge impactful change on how we've really built community of Middle East studies scholars and beyond through the center as a platform. It's just such a privilege to work with you, Joy. She's an amazing archaeologist who, organizes archaeological research in the deserts and all throughout the Middle East, but lately, especially in Oman. And she also recently has been to the new sites in Saudi Arabia. They're not new, obviously, but newly developed archaeological sites, which are very exciting. There's so much exciting work on the Middle East at Ohio State University. And it's a great privilege to have a partner who is involved in that. And then Danella Hicks, shout out again. I'm learning so much from you, Danella, about kids and what they need. And thank you for creating that space. It's such a welcoming environment and all that. It's a great learning environment, and it's a wonderful opportunity to connect with young people. And of course, Jack and Jane at Third Floor Design. Thank you for your guidance. I've learned so much from you. And thanks, Chip. You're wonderful. And so Chip's my boyfriend, and he's, helping with everything in my life. And thanks to all my friends who, thank you for your support, to all my friends and family, just emotional support. And, that counts for so much. It really keeps me going. I couldn't do it without you. So thank you. I also just want to talk about, let me pull up my slides again. I really tend to forget to show the slides, so forgive me. So partnership and collaboration is key to this project. And I've already mentioned all that, and the Vincent Walters Urban Farm. You can also you can buy from the Vincent Walters Urban Farm through the Ubuntu Farmers Market, which is a collective space for urban farmers in Columbus, Ohio, selling their wares. And again, Third Floor Design. So, I really lean on my partners, just to reiterate, all that knows how to do a youth program. I don't need to try to create a youth program. I can connect with an excellent, process of development for young people that's getting them ready to be successful in life. And I love that I can make Middle Eastern Foodways a part of that, and just enrich that experience. It's just a marvelous privilege. And then same with Vincent Walters Urban Farm and Jody Spencer, and just really leaning on her for her expertise in plants and growing and horticulture and agriculture, regenerative agriculture, all the values that Jody brings to the table, and really understanding, community engagement as well. So thank you so much, Jody. And she was another key partner. And then Third Floor Design, which it's so fabulous to work with people that understand how collaboration really works and just how realistic planning can work. And then our sponsorship too is just amazing at Ohio State University. So the Office of Outreach and Engagement does great work, and they really understand the value of that kind of, what I was talking about at the beginning, that research that's focused on partnership and not as much on expertise, or it opens the circle up wider to go beyond just, experts, to, how partnership and collaboration actually produce more relevant knowledge and perhaps better knowledge, in my opinion. But they really are great with professional development. It's really not easy or intuitive sometimes to do community partnered research. It doesn't necessarily jive with institutional review board, applications and things like that. And so I really lean heavily on all my colleagues that are doing food sovereignty research and understand community partnered research a lot, just their feedback and the professional development that the Office of Outreach and Engagement has connected me to, and the guidance. Thank you so much. And thank you for your funding this year for our documentation project, so that we'll be able to show the great work we're doing at Ohio State University. Very exciting. And then the Melton Center for Jewish Studies has been an awesome partner, helping us, again, to have that enrichment, bring in the scholars, to, engage our local community at Ohio State, our, faculty in multiple departments through events, the Department of Anthropology, the Department of History, comparative studies, Near Eastern and South Asian languages and cultures. Shout out to all the faculty members there, the chairs. Thank you for your support. It's just been so marvelous to collaborate with you. And if you want to learn more, it's go.osu.edu/mideast-food. I would love to hear from you. And thank you. And actually, I don't think anyone was here. I think this will just live on as a recording, which is fine. I just wanted to kind of get up here and share. I think so often I neglect to share the full picture with people. But it's really important to know, what that is, and, so that we keep going and understand the importance of the work. So I will be using this video and sharing it out in multiple ways. Okay, well, thanks to everyone who I mentioned and all of those who I may have forgotten or, who I didn't thank enough. This is just something I'm very inspired, and it gives me energy about. So it's a great privilege, and I hope it continues on, and I hope it continues on beyond me and without me, and becomes, sparks new things. Thank you.